Assalamu alaikum dear students. This is International Islamic University, Islamabad Schools, Sahiwal Campus. Chemistry, grade 9. Lecture number 2, chapter number 4, Structure of Molecules. Students, bring your chemistry notebooks, open them and write date, topic and index properly. Listen to your teacher attentively and write all the important points said by the teacher on your notebooks. Structure of molecules. So first we will discuss about the structure of molecules. All matter is made up of the building unit atoms. These atoms combine to form molecules. So this line explains that all the matter in this world is made up of atoms. Atoms are basically the building blocks of the matter. So these atoms combine to form molecules which appear in the different states of the matter around us. So when these atoms combine together, they form molecules which exist in different states. There are 4 states of matter, for example, solid, liquid, gas, and the plasma, the 4th state of matter, that is also a molten state. The forces responsible for binding the atoms together in a molecule are called chemical forces or the chemical bonds. So the forces which can combine or which can bind the atoms together in the formation of a molecule, these forces are basically known as the chemical forces or the chemical bonds between these atoms. So if we go deep in the introduction of the structure of the molecule, so basically the structure of the molecule is formed by the combination of atoms, and atoms are combined by the forces that are responsible for the binding of atoms together. And there are many type of forces that can combine atoms together, and ultimately the molecules are formed. So these forces are also known as the chemical forces or the chemical bonds. Why do atoms form chemical bonds? So on the page number 59 of your textbook, we have a subtopic that why do atoms form chemical bonds? So what is the need behind the formation of the molecules? Why the atoms combine together by the chemical bonds or by the chemical forces to form molecules? Atom achieves stability by attaining the electronic configuration of the noble gas. For example, helium, He is a symbol for helium, Ne for neon, or Ar for the argon, etc. And the electronic configuration is Ns2 and Np6, means that S subshell has 2 electrons and P subshell has 6 electrons, which means the outermost shell has 6 electrons. So when the atom achieves stability by attaining the electronic configuration of the noble gases, they become the most stable. They are in most stable state. So the atoms form chemical bonds to retain the most stable state. Attaining 2 electrons in the valence shell is called duplet. So when an electron attains 2 electrons in its valence shell or in its outermost shell, this is known as duplet. Duplet means 2. While attaining 8 electrons in the valence shell is called octet rule. So when an atom attains 8 electrons in its valence shell or in its outermost shell, so it will attain 8 electrons, and this is known as octet rule. So on the page number 59, you can have example about the electronic configuration that is similar to the noble gases. The noble gas do have 2 or 8 electrons in their valence shell. It means all the noble gases have their valence shell completely filled. So their atoms do not have vacant space in their valence shell to accommodate extra electron, and if there is no space for the accommodation of the extra electron, therefore the noble gases do not gain, lose or share electrons. So they are far behind this ability to gain, lose or share the electrons. That is why they are non-reactive. And if a substance is non-reactive, or if a atom is non-reactive, it is in its most stable state. So the atoms chemically combine together to attain the electronic configuration of nearest noble gas electronic configuration to remain in a most stable state. So this is importance of the noble gas electronic configuration, that lies in the fact that all other atoms try their best to have the noble gas electronic configuration. For the purpose, atoms combine with one another, which is called the chemical bonding. So the combination of the atoms together, for the combination of atoms together, when they combine together to form molecules, This is basically to attain the nearest noble gas electronic configuration for the sake of stability of the molecule. An atom can accommodate 8 electrons in its valence or outermost shell in 3 ways. By giving valence shell electrons if they are less than 3 to other atoms. So if an atom has electrons in its valence shell that are less than 3, so it can give its valence shell electron to the other atom and form a chemical bond. By gaining electron from other atom if the valence shell has 5 or more electrons in it. So if an atom having 5 or more electron in its valence shell, so it has the ability to gain the electrons rather losing electrons by sharing valence electrons with other atoms, or simply by sharing the valence shell electrons with the other atom's valence shell electrons. So the next topic is chemical bond. We have discussed the 3 ways by which atoms can combine or atoms can form a chemical bond. So now we will discuss about the chemical bond. A chemical bond is defined as the force of attraction between atoms that hold them together in a substance. In other words, during bond formation, there is some force which holds the atoms together. So if we're discussing about the chemical bond, this is basically force of attraction between atoms that can hold them together in a substance or in the formation of a molecule. So in other words, during the bond formation, there is some force which holds the atoms together. So the force that holds the atoms together, this force is known as chemical force, and the bond which is formed by the attraction of atoms by this force is known as chemical bond. So this attaining of 8 electrons configuration in the outermost shell, either by the sharing, by losing, or by the gaining of electrons, is known as octet rule. So the valence electrons which are involved in chemical bonding are termed as bonding electrons. So the valence shell electron or the outermost shell electrons that take part in the chemical bonding, these are known as bonding electrons as they take part in bonding. So the name is suggested that bonding electrons. They usually reside in the incomplete or partially filled outermost shell of an atom. So they are usually accommodate in the incomplete or partially filled outermost shell of that electron, and these are known as bonding electrons. So if we study a textbook page number 59, here is an example is written that, for example, like hydrogen or the helium which have only as subshell, this becomes duplet rule because it will attain the maximum number of 2 electrons. So this is known as duplet rule. It cannot be 8 electron octet rule. It plays a significant role in understanding the formation of chemical bond between atoms. If the bond formation is between ions, it is due to the electrostatic force of attraction between them. But if bond formation is between similar atoms or between the atoms that have comparable electronegativities, if the bond is formed between similar atoms or the atoms that have the comparable electronegativities with each other, then the chemical bond formation is formed by the sharing of electrons, not by the losing or gaining of electron. The sharing of electron may be mutual or one-sided. So these can be classified further. So when two approaching atoms come closer, the attractive as well as repulsive forces become operative. So when two atoms come close to each other, that force of attraction and the force of repulsion cooperate at this time. So the formation of chemical bond is a result of net attractive forces which dominate. So when the attractive forces dominate, they combine together. So the combination is the result of the net attractive force which dominates. So the energy of that system is lowered and molecule is formed. So in this way, in a chemical bond, molecules are formed. So the next topic is types of chemical bond. So there are 4 basic types of chemical bonds. Depending upon the way how these valence electrons are involved in bonding, they result in the following 4 types of the chemical bonds. So the first one is ionic bond, second one is covalent bond, third is dative covalent or coordinate covalent bond, and the fourth one is metallic bond. So the valence electrons which are involved in the chemical bonding, these are termed as bonding electron, which I have explained. They usually reside in the incomplete to partially filled outermost shell of an atom. So depending upon the way how these valence electrons are involved in the bonding, so there are four types of bonding. First, we will discuss about the ionic bond. This type of chemical bond, which is formed due to the complete transfer of electron from one atom to another atom, is called as ionic bond. So basically, in this type of bonding, there is a complete transfer of one electron from one atom to another atom. Basically, in this, the one atom loses an electron and obtain a positive charge, and at the same time the other atom gain this electron and obtain a negative charge. Let me take example of sodium chloride. The formation of NaCl is a good example of this type of bond. Sodium plus chlorine, after reaction chlorine negative and sodium positive. So how this negative and positive signs are obtained? Sodium has 11 electrons in its 11 electrons, so it will lose one electron from its outermost shell. So by the lose of one electron from its outermost shell, it will obtain a positive charge. And chlorine has 17 electrons, so atomic number 17, so it will gain one electron and it will attain a negative charge. So by the lose of one electron, sodium obtain positive charge, and by the gain of one electron, chlorine gets the negative charge. So the electron lost by a sodium atom is gained by a chlorine atom to produce a sodium ion and a chloride ion. So both these atoms attain their outermost shells completed and attain a nearest noble gas electronic configuration. Sodium obtains electronic configuration of neon noble gas, and chlorine obtained the nearest noble gas configuration of argon, as it has 18 in its atomic number. Sodium chloride is a simple compound formed by the sodium Z is equals to 11 and chlorine Z is equals to 17 atoms. So the ground state electronic configuration of these elements is shown below. For example, sodium in the neutral phase, and when sodium loses an electron, it will obtain a positive charge. Electron transfer from sodium to the chlorine atom is shown over here. Chlorine with its 7 electron in its outermost shell is shown over here. So when sodium lose an electron, that electron is gained by the chlorine. So sodium lose an electron and gets a positive charge, so it will become a cation, and chlorine gain a negative charge or an electron, so it will obtain 8 electrons complete in its outermost shell and complete its octet, so it will become an anion. So by the combination of a positive ion, that is cation, and a negative ion, that is anion, ionic compound is formed, that is sodium chloride, having positive and negative charges when they are shown in the ionic state and when they are shown as a neutral compound. So this is sodium chloride. Okay students, here you have some homework. Students, learn all the topics discussed in this lesson from your textbook. This is end of the lesson. Allah Hafiz.